It's a Sunday evening, and that must mean only one thing. It's time for another round of GT2 Challenge 2021 by New Dimension Racing, broadcast here on simbroadcast.tv. My name, as always, is Chris Ford, and I am again joined by the Irishman with the cat, Eoin Harmon. Eoin, hello, how are you today?
Good evening, Chris. I'm doing well, thank you very much, and welcome everybody to the Sim Broadcasts coverage of GT2 Challenge.
Now, today, everybody, we have a bit of a different style track again for you. So far, we've had some interesting tracks so far in Kyoto and Rockingham, and now we have a completely different challenge, the fast street track, which is South City Long. Normally you'd expect an FZR or an FXR to be competitive around here, but the XR has seemed competitive so far during pre-qualifying and also the practice times that we have seen. It's a narrow track, but as I say, it's quite quick. Eoin, you again tried to pre-qualify for this. What do you make of this track? And you didn't really, I don't think, enjoy the XR too much around here. I think you'd rather be an FZR for this track. But would you like to discuss the track?
Yeah, of course. We've got the remarkable home straight. You're going to be accelerating for about 30 seconds non-stop. Then you have a sharp downhill left, and then it becomes uphill for a heavy braking point. With the turn 2 corner, you have to brake very heavily at about 100 meters. Then you have about two 90-degree corners again before the most challenging corners, in my opinion, turns 5 into the 6 and 6A chicane. Sector 2 is much more even flowing. You've got a long set of corners to the left, and then you have to slam on the brakes again for the turn 10 hairpin. And then you head onto the motorway for turns 12 for the final sector. And then if you've hooked a great lap, you can't just give up yet, because turn 13 to wrap things up is such a daunting corner. If you're not fully focused, it can drag you into the wall or anything like that.
Yep, so up on your screen just now is the GT2 Challenge calendar for this season. We are currently in round 3. We've been to Kyoto, we've been to Rockingham, now we're at South City, and in 2 weeks' time we will be at Blackwood Grand Prix for round 4 of the season, followed by Fernbay Classic and a rounding off the championship season at Aston Grand Touring. Before, on April the 4th, a special 6-hour non-championship event with teams for all the drivers that have competed in this season to round off the season. That will be an interesting one to see how people get on within teams. So halfway through this championship already, which is rather remarkable. And then we have today, this is the event situation that we have today. We have qualifying just now before a 58 lap race around South City. And quite honestly, I expect a little bit of a very close race, and I expect no car to come out of this without damage. It's very, very easy at this track to damage the car, isn't it? When those barriers are very, very inviting, because the corners are not your normal street track style corners where they are slow. There's quite a lot of the corners are quite quick on this track, and it's easy to make mistakes, as I just watched Nico Pantola hit an inside wall and then an outside wall.
Yeah, it's going to be a ping-pong game for some of the drivers. They can potentially lose at the very first corner. They clip the curb too soon and they hit the overpass, or they could find themselves oversteering towards the pit lane that would belong to other parts of South City. And then any other combination of a driver getting stuck trying to re-emerge from the track, or that treacherous chicane that starts the second sector. Like, I've made some mistakes there. I dread to think what could happen if 5 or 6 cars meet each other at that part of the track.
Indeed, and also we actually have the slowest corner, or I think it's the slowest corner in Live for Speed, that hairpin down at the end of the second sector. Of course, the other one that challenged that is the hairpin at Aston on the AS7, for example, combination, which is very, very tight as well. But I think this one is just that slight bit slower. We are watching Pinker Iden on track just now. He is P2 at the moment on 133.74. That's a little bit slower than I would expect pole position to be. Vytautas Laguskas, who you may notice is not in his XR today, he's going for an FXR in an attempt to get further up the grid than he would be in the XRR, is on pole at the moment with 133.70. I would be surprised if we don't see a 32 for pole position, though, which is mighty quick, given once upon a time you could barely get in the 133s here for Masters of Endurance. So things have really progressed using these latest setups around South City as Pikkarainen bails out of the lap. Here is the man who was quickest in practice, Joe Holmes. 132.9 is the fastest server time that he did. He is on outlap just now in his first racing skin. You would expect that he will be one of the chief people in this race. You'd imagine that Isaac Price, will certainly be at the front again. There's no Dennis Lind in this race, so that's unfortunate. Last race's pole position, especially at a track where the FZR you would think would have a mighty fine chance at winning, but there's no Dennis Lind, and it might be an XRR fest at the front. I'll be interested to see how Vytautas Laguskas does in his FXR bus. But at the moment he is on pole position. In fact, there's 2 FXRs in the top 3, Eoin, which is a first time this season. First time for a long time an FXR has been at the top of any standings.
Yeah, that's the trick to the series. It felt like it was XR heaven, and it was basically you had to be in that car to stand a chance. But now the FXR's attributes are more suited to this track, and it makes sure you have to keep playing from start to finish to be a contender.
Yes, so Vytautas Laguskas has improved his time to 33.46, with Isaac Price now taking up second with 33.68. I wonder if the wind is playing havoc at the moment, because those times are a little bit down on what I would have expected, having seen a lot of the practice times. And as we discuss the car classes, those graphics should be coming up on your screen just now, and we talk about the XRR being the car that has won both races so far, with its 2-litre turbocharged inline engine, its rear-wheel drive, and in GT2 spec it has a 25% intake restrictor, giving it 358 brake horsepower. The FZR that would normally go very well round here with its non-turbocharged engine is a 3.6-litre flat 6, but at the moment I don't think anybody's really using it. They would be at the front without Dennis Lind being here. Nico Pantola normally is reasonably quick in the FZR, but he's only 17th at the moment, and Adam Brown, who has had an adventurous season so far, has slept in or something. We're not sure where Adam is today, so that's unfortunate for the FZR contingents. And the final one, the Joker in the pack today, the FXR, is a 2-litre turbocharged flat 4 engine, and it has a 4-wheel drive, which means that it has a massive advantage here in the traction zones, and this is really a track where that car could be the Joker of the pack, as I say, Eoin.
Of course, Chris, it is certainly the car to beat today, and we have the likes of Pauli Peltz-Kangas making a entry into the series for the first time this season. He has 3rd place at the moment. So perhaps it's going to be a newcomer to take the spoils. It's all down to the management of the race. If there are any safety cars or incidents on track that may spoil some strategies, that's the thing I'm going to be looking out for. But as we have Joe Holmes on the 133.44 fastest lap, just 200ths ahead of Laguskas, should make for an interesting session.
Yep, and we're halfway through this session, and now we have a quick look on the screen at the Drivers' Championship. Isaac Price and Joe Holmes have finished in that order in both of the first 2 rounds of the season. Isaac leading with 211 points to Joe Holmes 190, 21 points between them, and I think that's possibly where the battle is going to lie today again, but it does seem as though there's some other contenders in there so far. Matthias Mäkiholm is unfortunately not here today, which is a disappointment for everybody, because he's been one of our entertaining drivers during the season so far, but unfortunately he is not here today. And of course, series champion Joni Katia, currently 6th in the championship, will be looking to have a far better qualifying than he did the last time where he qualified 24th. He's only 13th at the moment, but I think he's a little bit happier to do qualifying around here than he was at Rockingham. And in the Teams Championship, Shad Esports are leading by 42 points over World Class Lions, and CSF Esports are in third position. However, I believe that Shad Esports might lose points because of Vytautas Lukutskas' change from the XR to the FXR. Apparently, he only loses driver points. Okay, so that is the correct standings there for the Teams Championship, and Shad Esports lead after 2 rounds. Here's the graphics that Eoin Harmon will not want to see again. Pre-qualifying results, 33.27 there for Matthias Pikkarainen in the XRR. That would be enough for pole position at the moment, but I think I have a funny feeling the wind must be playing havoc at the moment. But there's our pre-qualifiers today. As I thought that we might get in the 32s during the qualifying session, but it seems to be very, very difficult for the drivers at the moment. And there we see Eoin. You didn't really enjoy the XR round here, did you, very much?
No, I can't say I had my greatest run, to be honest. I think if I had a good Sector 1, I would struggle in the chicane, and then that would ruin my lap. But anyway, we are lucky to have the high standard of drivers, and I am happy my teammate made it on merit. That was a great run for Steve Martin.
Yeah, Stephen Martin making his first appearance of the season. So I'm looking currently at Joe Holmes, who's attempting to improve on his pole position run of 133.44. He is 200ths of a second ahead of Vytautas Lukutskas, and Isaac Price 133.56, a tenth of a second further back. Holmes is coming toward the final corner in his XRR with the first racing livery, number 36 here in this series, into the final corner, goes toward the outside wall. I think he might just have clipped it to win, and I'm not sure that's going to help him out the final corner, but he continues. He's nearly at the finish. He may as well finish the lap. Let's see what finish of the time will this be for Joe Holmes as he hugs the inside wall, take the path of least resistance, and it's a 133.27, so he did improve a little bit. It's still not the 132s I were hoping for in this qualifying session, but they're beginning to build up. And of course, a major thing actually here, Eoin, is traffic. Traffic will be a pain for all the drivers out there because it's only a 2.5 mile track, and it's a street track, so there's nowhere really to hide if you're on an outlap and somebody comes up behind you in a flyer.
Yeah, I just saw Eoin and have some drivers messing around with the exiting the pits. Thankfully, he wasn't on a hot lap. Would have ruined his lap. But it's the real factor. Some drivers who are on their outlaps, they realize there's fast traffic coming, so they have to come to a complete stop on the exit of the straights and avoid blocking people's racing lines. So you just have to realize when is the right time to build up your speed and when's the right time to get out of the way.
Yep, indeed, it's a difficult track. It's a difficult track for all classes of cars, and in the GTR class in particular, it's so easy to hit those walls because the corners all open out, and it feels as though they're more inviting than they actually are. But it contains a massive challenge for the drivers, and it'll be very interesting to see who comes out on top today. It's still Joe Holmes on pole position. Lukutskas improves to 33.37. He remains second on the grid in the FXR bus. Joni Katia has moved up into 6th position, our series champion, so he is on the third row of the grid at the present time.
Isaac Price is heading to the start-finish line, Chris. He had a 59.57 second split. Is he going to crack that 1 minute 33.2 barrier that separates him from the pole? No, not quite. It's close.
Indeed, so there's just over 5 minutes to go in this section, so everybody should get another lap in as they come out onto the track.
We're heading on to Jared Mead's perspective now. He holds 20th position for Angry Angus, and he decides to abort the lap, unfortunately, but he was a very hot performer in our pre-qualifying session. Himself and his teammate Reg LeBlanc were superb. I'm very happy for them. But unfortunately, we'll move on now to Eoin, occupying 14th position in the XRR, but he needs to break within a second of our pole sitter if he's going to improve. on his way now. As flat out as he can, 6th gear, 130 miles an hour now. Is he going to do it? Oh, you can, 134.04.
We have some late call-ups to this race because of a few drivers that have not made it out to the track, so we have been joined for this race. By car 84 and by car 56, Ken Johansson has joined us. So Adam Brown will not be joining us as he is absent from this race.
Fair play to Ken, he's well down on our order call-up, so the fact that he's here, it's a testament to him. Anyway, I'll give him 10 out of 10 for turning up. And Pauli Peltkangas, I mentioned him a moment ago, our TBO Challenge champion and a very strong runner in Ronnie's Tuesday Fun races. He has now registered for GT2 Challenge, and with the hot favourite FXR, he could definitely contend for a immediate impact to the series. With the 5th place and 4 tenths behind, he needs to crack that last few tenths. He's heading towards Sector 3 now.
Karainen improves to 4th on the grid, 33.78. I think he's got enough time for go out for one last run. As Joe Holmes was quicker, did he? Something happened there on the screen, but it's gone a bit funny. Never mind, it wasn't him, it was, I think, Laguskas getting within a tenth of him. That's what it was. 133.37, still can't quite break Joe Holmes' 133.27. And here's Isaac Price coming round the final corner, up toward the line. Can he improve? He goes up into 3rd position. He stays 3rd position. He does the exact same time as Vytautas Lagutskas, 133.37. I think Isaac might just have one last run at improving to pole position as Joe Holmes begins what will be his final lap in this qualifying session as he comes through turn number 2 now, our current pole position holder, into turn 3. Opens up on the exit, used the curb on the exit, down into turn number 4. This is almost flat, or it certainly isn't FSR, but that was beautiful from Joe Holmes, just about clipping the wall. That's the fastest way through there. 26.14 first split from Joe Holmes on pole position through the tricky double left leading into a chicane. The uphill left-hander that tightens on the exit, and there's a big bump there that pushes you toward the wall as we come down now to the hairpin, the famous tight first gear hairpin, the slowest corner in Live for Speed. Avoid the wall on the left-hand side, but use the curb to throw the car in, touch that curb on the inside and sweep out. Now into the final sector, just want to hop over that curb. It sends the car wide and it's sometimes difficult to get the ideal line for this left-hander. Holmes 59.41, that is up on his previous lap, I do believe. No, it's not, he's actually given up the lap. Oh well then, we were getting a nice demonstration.
Yeah, Pauli finds his way onto the 2nd row. Good time.
Yep, and Nico Patola up 9th in the top FZR runner at the moment, which is a bit disappointing for the FZR contingent. Pikarainen through the first split does 26.30, but touches the wall and the exit, has that blown it for him. He's down to 5th on the grid at the moment with the improvement from the FXR there.
I'm going to keep an eye on Isaac Price on my own side here. He's on a hot lap.
Now, I'm looking at Yannick Tia, who's done a 59.71. It's maybe not as quick as pole position, but it might improve him. He is currently needs to find a 10th of a second if he wants to get up to 6th on the grid. Anything further might be tricky for Katia. But at least this week it's not 24th on the grid for Eoin Katia. His worst, it seems, is going to be 7th. 0 on the clock. These are the final runs for everybody. Isaac Price coming down the hill now into the final sector. He's done 26.12 first split into 59.38 second. I'm not sure he's going to be able to beat Joe Holmes, but we'll see what happens in this final corner. There's traffic ahead of him as well. Katia does not improve on 7th on the grid, so he remains on the 4th row of the grid. Can Isaac Price steal pole position away from his championship rival Joe Holmes? He's into the final corner now. I don't think it's quite going to happen when it doesn't quite look as though it was hooked up through that final corner. Here he comes, plunging to the line. He may as well go for it. He's hugging the inside wall again. Pass of least resistance, 33.43. And Joe Holmes is on pole position for round 3 of the GT2 Challenge by New Dimension Racing here at South City. 1 minute 33.27. I'm funny feeling the wind was playing a part there, Owen, because that's slower than what I expected the runners to be doing.
Yeah, you could see a few drivers were slipping when they needed optimum grip, and that could certainly play into the strategies for the race. Yeah, looks like every driver has finished up their lap.
Yes, so it's an interesting grid. Certainly, that's probably ideal for this race, having Lutskas right there to do right there with the leaders. So, Owen, would you like to do what you normally do at the end of qualifying and take us down the running order for today's race here at South City?
Gladly. So it's pole position for Joe Holmes ahead of Vitautas Laguskas. Isaac Price, championship leader, has P3 ahead of Pauli Patsakangas for 4th place. Pikkarainen completes our top 5. Vitautas just behind in 6th, very close between those two. A tie for position between champion Joni Katila and Petro Pakanko, but Joni set the time first. Nico Bantola, our best FZR runner, has 9th, and Brzezinskas completes the top 10. Leipenex, Lekikainen, Parapo, Botev, and Daniel Bala are positions 11 to 15. Lind, Kapal, Lusky, Araujo, and Vidoviarts are also our top 20 drivers there. Next up, we have a newcomer as well. Martinez has 21st place. Jari Katila has gone to P22. Giorsetti, Jared Mead, and Jeff and Jacob 23rd to 25th. Matajitis, Hlinka, El Hanouni, Dawid Gotch, and Lemali are in the top 30. And then our drivers at the back of the pack, we have Sarah, LeBlanc, Weber, Martin, Duran, Zanella, and Johansson.
Yep, so 37 runners and riders today in the GT2 Challenge. We will take a quick break, I think, just before we come back with the race. We will be gridding up in 5 minutes, so we will see you on the other side of this. Thank you very much. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to GT2 Challenge by New Dimension Racing, broadcast here today on simbroadcast.tv here on Twitch. My name is Chris Ford, and I am again joined, as always, by Eoin Harmon. Eoin, would you like to do another rundown of the grid for people who missed the qualifying session and introduce us to the race today?
That's no problem, Chris. So, in case you didn't see our 20-minute qualifying session, Joe Holmes, looking to win for the first time this season, has grabbed pole position ahead of the Tautas the Goosecast. With our championship leader, Isaac Price, is P3. One of our newcomers to the series, but a very familiar name to Sim Broadcast viewers, Pauli Peltakangas, has taken 4th place for Team Sidus. 5th place has gone to Matthias Pikkarainen. He should be hopefully on the periphery of a victory today. 6th place goes to Lucas Zatautas, another Team Sidus driver. Champion of the GT2 Challenge, Yanni Katila, has taken up 7th place. Pedro Pacanco, Mika Buntola, and Darius Rosinskas complete our top 10.
So, I mean, Eoin, that's the top 10. Thank you very much for this race at South City. I think today is going to be very interesting because I would expect at some point there will be pit stops. We've queried whether there would be pit stops at both the rounds so far of this championship, but I certainly expect it today. I expect the XR runners in particular to be running on the softer R2R2 compounds, and I think they will definitely be in the pits. What's your thoughts?
My honest thought is the drivers, if they had it up to them, they'd be able to manage the tires up into a pit stop naturally. I'm honestly thinking safety car in the middle of the race is a potential outcome. I could be wrong, but it's just so many corners and so many pitfalls could inflict our drivers today, and that could cause a safety car. So that would bring the pit stops forward for our drivers on aggressive strategies. They'll be able to pit earlier and avoid having to calculate later on in the race. The quicker FXR, you never know if they could make it to the end or if they want to pit late. But certainly the outcome of the race be dependent on our drivers if they have a clean race or not.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be looking mainly here today at a right rear being the biggest problem with the way that the corners are, especially the double left that leads into the chicane. That's a tire killer of a corner, so the right rear will be quite crucial for these drivers today, and that'll be the corner of the car that they are looking to protect most, as everybody lines up now on the grid for the running start, as it would be if we had little men that ran across or women that ran across, like at Le Mans. But yeah, that's basically what we're doing here. As you can see, Joe Holmes waits patiently for Stuart Baker, our safety car driver, to pull away. But yeah, I think there will be pit stops from the XR runners. I think they'll run the softer compound and pit, and FZR probably will as well. So it'll be interesting to see. As you say, the FXR might not need to pit, depending on its decisions to take what tyres they take. So we run out onto this formation lap for the rolling start here at South City.
So everybody waits their turn to leave their special grid slot, and safety car Stuart Baker has taken control of the situation now. So the good old-fashioned tire warming has to be composed now before rolling start.
Just having a look through the tyre combinations, as expected, everybody virtually is in an FZR and XR with R2R2 compounds. That to me says they will be pitting in this race. So I'd expect pit stops around about lap 35, 36 in this race. Let's see what happens. There's certainly some odd earlier pit stops at Rockingham International, but I don't really expect that today. Maybe they'll go as long as lap 45, but we'll see. So between 35 and 45 is when I'd expect everybody to be in the pit zone.
Yeah, that certainly checks out with me, but you never know with the drivers, they could change their mind. Just heading down to that infamous hairpin now for our safety car driver and the competitors. That's definitely the place where you want to map out your overtakes. It's one of the top spots to perform a pass. But if you're not fully sharp and you miss your braking point, you're going to cause a lot of problems.
Just to clear up after the previous round, you might remember there was a lot of consternation at the start of that race, Eoin. That was interesting, caused a lot of penalties and things like that for pole position. First, second, and fourth on the grid all got penalties. Joe Holmes has chosen the left-hand side of the track down into this first turn. Stu Baker, they're leading them round. They weave around, all weaving around, trying to get as much heat into their tyres as possible. The FXR there in second position, Vitautas Lugutskas, Isaac Price third on the grid, will be looking to make the jump. But you have to imagine that Joe will be pretty aggressive down to that first corner in an attempt to hold on to the lead. We have a bit of touching going on in the background. You shouldn't be touching each other yet, boys. So we come to the final corner where Joe Holmes will eventually take over from Stuart Baker as the man in charge of the grid.
Well, at the sharpest point of that motorway incline, it's only too wide. There's only 2x2 space. So now we need to get the drivers into their proper formations. Vitautas Lugutskas hasn't lined up with Joe Holmes yet. He needs to do it now. There we go, that's better. Oh! And there was Team Sidus cars bumping into each other by accident, but now we really don't want to see a chaotic start. It has to be within the rules. It has to be with the other drivers in mind. So here we go, Chris.
Yep, they come to the line now. There was a bit of a bottleneck there. Lugutskas is alongside Holmes. Holmes is controlling the pace down toward the green flag. When will the green flag drop? It will drop for this third round of GT2 Challenge now. And it's a good start by Joe Holmes. Lugutskas gets away well as well. Price manages to hold on to the two of them. So that's the three in down to the first turn. There's a lag incident happening further back in this grid. There's a few cars having issues with lag. Isaac Price goes for the outside of Lugutskas.
Took a slight hit.
Lugutskas goes for the outside of Holmes. There, 3 wide to the first corner, and it stays the order 1, 2, 3. Holmes runs wide. Lugutskas takes the lead. Holmes runs wide. Lugutskas takes the lead. Down into turn number 2. Price alongside to 3, and it's Lugutskas leading in the FXR. He used the four-wheel drive to get a better drive out of that second corner, and Vitautas Lugutskas leads for the first time this season.
Shiver me timbers, it's a lot of aggression on our first sector now, Chris. Drivers are putting their noses where they could have got bitten, and some have suffered as a consequence. But it is Lugutskas in the lead ahead of Joe Holmes now.
Yes, it is. Holmes defended the inside line as they almost went 3 wide into that wide apex of turn number 2. Contact there between the front three. The front three running into each other in the hairpin there, but no damage done. They all get away with it so far. It's Vitautas Lugutskas, it's Joe Holmes, it's Isaac Price, 1, 2, 3. And he just managed to use the superior traction. Holmes got a little bit squarely off the curb in turn number 2. And he managed to, and he ran a little bit wide. Lugutskas was never turning up that opportunity to power past in his four-wheel drive FXR.
Darius Versinskas was actually given a tap on the rear right in the hairpin. He lost position to Botev, but nothing more than that.
Yeah, and he was very late on the brakes there into the final corner. Do you think he was quite annoyed there, Eoin?
Yeah, it's too early to lose your temper for the moment, but definitely anger is justified for some of these drivers today. Just got to calm it down now.
Lapanikas has a bit damaged his front of his car, so something's quite clearly happened in the midfield on this opening lap, Eoin. Not ideal for him, and behind the two PM cars is Andrea Rujo holding on to 15th position for the moment.
Yeah, I saw one of those CSF cars, Puntola, had a hit with, I think it was Lipenex, and that cost them time, and that might have been the source of damage. Getting into the dreadful chicane for the second time now. Looks okay.
Up at the front, Vitautas Lugutskas has made a bit of a breakaway in this race. He's currently pulled away on Joe Holmes and has a 1.4 second lead already. Holmes has Price right behind him, but not quite in the danger zone yet for an overtake, but that's an impressive start from the Goodscast in the FXR, using the FXR's advantage around this track, or perceived advantage. We'll see what happens later in the race, whether this holds out or not when the XR has gone through its heat peak. But the Goodscast will be happy he's made that decision to change from the XRR to the FXR, having struggled so far this season and been a bit nondescript in the 2 rounds, except from when he rolled in the latter stages of the last race. But here he is, leading in the FXR. 34.32 is a very, very good starting pace, Eoin.
Yeah, that's half a second quicker than Holmes. When we were at Rockingham 2 weeks ago, the drivers were so close. Dennis Lind held the pole position, but he could never complete a gap that would help him save his tyres and feel comfortable. So Joe Holmes' dilemma now is if he doesn't catch the Goodscast soon, he's going to be Isaac Price's hit list, and that will just cause a domino effect.
I've been watching this battle here, Vidorvios, Gazzetti, Capal, Mead. It was Vordios, Gorzetti, and Mead. They were side by side through turn number 1 and turn number 2, but it appears as though there was a little bit of contact on the exit of the corner, because now Gorzetti has a bit of damage to the rear of his car, Eoin, and there's clearly been contact made.
Yeah, if it's rear suspension, I'll be worried.
Yeah, very much rear orientated. This is very. You're on board now with Jared Mead as Giorsetti hits the wall again. His car does not seem to be handling all that well at the moment, as Mead slices him up again down this back straight, down the motorway section, toward the final corner of the track. It seems as though he's just a little bit too far to make the move. You'd expect him maybe to come through in the start-finish straight, though. Again, Giorsetti, his car squarely under brakes. Doesn't look very happy, does it, when under braking? It seems as though he's having a lot of trouble with the way that he set up the brakes.
Yeah, I can tell it's troublesome, but he's on the attack though, and he make the move on the straight.
Here comes Jared Mead in the slipstream down into turn number 1. He'll wash out if he's too close, but no, he manages to hold back, and he thinks about having a dive down the inside, and that is job done for Jared Mead, and into 18th, 19th position.
Yeah, that was a well plotted move, but it's double trouble for Giorsetti, as Martin Capal has also found a way by at a very unconventional spot there, turn number 3. That wouldn't have been my strategy if it was me on track. Well done to Capal. Returning now to our lead pack, and it's so close now. Isaac Price gaining on Joe Holmes, but it's only slight. It's half a second separating them. And with the big straights coming up now, it's only going to get closer, but the mid section of the track, turns 3 to about 9, that will determine who's feeling good about their lap and who's not.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at the tyres of each of these cars. They haven't quite got to the warmth that you'd expect at this point in the track. That means that everybody's running quite happily along at consistent speed. It'll be interesting to see what happens in a couple of laps' time. Holmes has the fastest lap now, 34.17.
A lot of drivers are side by side on the home straight, but let's look at Martin Capal, who's now losing out to Giorsetti for that position. P20, so it is Giorsetti back ahead. So it goes to show, even if you outsmart your opponent once, they can get you back if they're My own teammate here, Stephen Martin, has taken himself on with Magic for 35th position. Magic has understeered into turn 2, but he's got the apex in control there. No mistake there for the number 85. Oh, he's gone wide again. But this is a very dangerous spot to overtake. You shouldn't dare unless you're absolutely in cooperation with your opponent. And I don't think there's requirement to play fair with your opponents just yet. Just keep it clean, but it can stay risky.
There's no such thing as a place where you shouldn't be overtaking going. Go for it anywhere.
Well, that's where you and I disagree, Chris.
Up here, Zanella, Elanuni, Weber, and Martinez are battling side by side. Zanella has massive. Oh, it's car spun! It's car spun. Who's that? Just spun coming into the final sector. And he manages to swing it around and he gets back going again. He was in 22nd, now he's down to 34th, so big mistake there. I wonder if there was contact. I imagine there was probably contact to spin there. As Joe Holmes continues to close in on Vytautas Lagutskas. Holmes sets the fastest lap, 134.17 to close down to 9/10 of a second. They've dropped Isaac Price, Eoin.
Yeah, that's massive. I was fearing it could be a case of 2 plus 3 allows one to have a getaway, but it looks close as first and second are close. Third and fourth are not too far away either, so that makes things doubly exciting.
You're certainly correct there. It's a bit of a four-way pull away at the moment, though I think Joni Katia looks as though he's got good race pace, but he's stuck behind Pikkarainen at the moment. He's been trying his best to find a way around him. Pikkarainen seems to be quicker on some of the corner exits at the moment, so Joni Katia remains 6th behind Matthias Pikkarainen. Behind them, actually, Pedro Picanco and Boris Botev are having a very interesting battle as well. Over 8th position, Botev slides into the wall, though, and ruins that down the back straight. But some Nico Patola and Lepanikis and Tress are side by side down the back straight. Patola is going around the outside, but it's an FXR down the inside, and that's going to come back at him. And Lepanikis thinks, I'm going to come past Patola here. So that's not great for Nico. He's stuck in a little bit of a sandwich. He doesn't want to be in just now, but he should have the grunt advantage on the FXR down the straight. But Lepanikis is really pushing hard. Lepanikis is going to fly past Patola. No, he's not. He's going to think better of it, Eoin. And the three of them pile down toward turn number 1. They'll have to watch the wash effect there. Patola's right up behind. A little bit of a contact there. Patola decides not to go down the inside. I think he just got a little bit too close, Eoin, and that meant he couldn't make the pass stick.
Yeah, the slipstream was the cause and effect for Patola. He was losing time and then he got it back, and well done to those 3 drivers avoiding catastrophe. Side-by-side battle, turn 3. Patrick Linke has overtaken Vidoviarts or defended very well, couldn't tell, but that was a close one for turn 3. And now in the chicane, now turn 6 and 6A. Looks sensible to me now, so well done to those drivers as well.
Yep, 7 laps gone already, and Lagutskas has got the lead back to just over a second over Joe Holmes.
Jeremiah Sinella and Jürgen Weber close, 27th, 28th. Slipstream for Reg LeBlanc could also happen here, maybe into the back straight. See what the FXR does here. Oh, big slide. Jürgen held it nicely. Number 31, we're heading on board. And he's lost out a bit of time there, Chris. I don't think he'll be able to do anything here. He's staying put. Ahead here's Linke. Another Born to Race car on the move. So Linke is pushing as hard as he can now, with Vidoviarts behind, and his next target is Kaike Parapo. Lemali and Sarah, 31st, 32nd. We're getting almost chock-a-block for the chicane.
Pikanko and Botev are side by side down to the final corner. Botev looks a lot quicker than Pikanko at the moment. Can he find a way round the outside? Two XRs battling. You can go side by side into this corner, but Botev manages goes to the cutback and said Pikanko gets awfully close to the wall. Botev decides to weave out of the slipstream for now. He must be hoping to make the move later down the straight rather than at the start of the straight. He now goes for the slipstream. Pikanko touches the wall slightly, going over the start-finish line, side by side, around this sort of plinky-plonky section of the corner. Around the outside turn 1 is a very brave manoeuvre. Can he get the job stuck into turn number 2? Pikanko sticks his nose in there, but Botev has made a beautiful clean pass, beautifully judged by Boris Botev, and he takes 8th position.
That's a great demonstration of racing from these guys. Botev, excellent with his overtaking. It took him quarter of the lap to perfect it, but he got it done. Oh, Lusky and Jared Mead here. This is Ravel Lusky.
Radek,
outside of Jared Mead for the chicane.
In front of everybody. All of a sudden, Reg Monk was backwards coming out to turn number 1 and down toward turn number 2. He needs to reverse out the way of everybody.
That's a spin. Lusky pitches Jared Mead into a spin. Jared Mead has been spun out. It's a very, very dangerous section to have that happen.
A disastrous few seconds for Angry Angus Racing there then.
I'd be furious, Angus. I'd be so disappointed if that were me. With 10 laps on the horizon, let's have a rundown of our top 10 runners. Starting with our race leader, Vytautas Lagouskas, 134.18 lap there. Joe Holmes has dropped down a position to 2nd, but he's still in firm contention. P3 is our championship leader, Isaac Price. And a new member of this championship, Pauli Patsakangas, has 4th. Just behind him is another Finnish driver. It's Pikkarainen. And just behind him, we have the champion, Joni Kitila. P7 for the number 7, Vytautas for Team Sidus. Down in 8th, we have Boris Botev. Great run for him so far. And in P9, it's Pedro Pikanko.
Yes, I've had a quick...
To round it off, it's Eoin in 10th.
Oh, sorry, I thought
go ahead, Chris, go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you'd done 10th. I've got 2 Jorno Eoin and my tracker. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Reg LeBlanc's incident there. Basically, Zanella lost it into turn number 1 slightly and had to back out. There was nowhere for Reg to go. He was right up behind him and he ended up spinning and Zanella went to the inside and hit the wall. So that's why I think Zanella's struggling now as well. And Zanella actually abandons that and pits. I think he's got quite a bit of damage to his XR car.
Radek Lusky is now the driver on the defensive. Martin Kapal is looking for his 18th position, but just behind him is Jari Kitila. So a 3-way battle for this portion of the track, and down at the final hairpin we go.
Anyway, so here's Martin Kapal. He is chasing 18th position at the moment. He's got Jari Kitila behind him. Kapal, this is a 4-way battle here for 18th position. Kapal has worked his way up slightly from his starting position and would like past that lovely Aston Martin style racing FZR ahead of him. That would be nice if Aston Martin and F1 had a similar livery, but I have a funny feeling they'll have something horrible. Yeah, oh, there's a car there. It's Goretti. Hang on, who is the... Bichetti has gone off in front. He's got a puncture. He's got a front left puncture. Now he was actually having issues down at the hairpin. I think he's punctured his tyre after 11 laps just by purely locking up into that hairpin. He certainly had an issue earlier in the race, but He was suddenly 180 degrees across, 90 degrees across the track in front of cars there, and now he's going to struggle back to the pits. That's not great for his race. He's down already 32nd.
That's a good spot, Chris. His front right is indeed punctured, and he's going to fall to the back. Joe Holmes sets the fastest lap. No sign of any imminent danger for the other drivers, trying to avoid Gorsetti limping around. I was looking at my teammate, SMR Harmon Enterprises' Stephen Martin. He's battling with Magic, but he's just going to come up now. Now let's see a battle for just ahead of this pack. It's Lem Ali for Gum Garage. He's got race green competition behind him as well. 3 FXRs looking to see who's the supreme runner. Yeah, so Johansson in the middle there, just behind Lem Ali. He's going to pull out to the outside. I don't think he'll find the pullback he needs. Now he's going to understeer just a little bit, but catches it again.
What you're seeing,
Jacob Jeffen is going to threaten Johansson.
What you are seeing here, Eoin, is a battle for supremacy between different buses in different countries. Is the Norwegian bus better? Is the French bus better? Or is the Indian bus better? At the moment, it is the French bus that is leading.
Yeah, that's a victory for Les Français. They're top of the Six Nations as well. If there are any rugby fans out there. But Johansson is now falling back. The Norwegian and the Indian going head to head at the hairpin, breaking about 75 meters. And behind it's Dawid Gotch. Well, he's not driving a bus, is he, Chris?
No, he's driving a car, and this is him recovering from his spin earlier on in this section that we're going through just now. Jeffen is very, very close to the back of Johansson. Can he get the job done in this final corner? Here he comes, down behind Johansson. He goes to the inside line. He's going to go for it, and he's going to make the move stick. I think he's going to run slightly wide, but I think he'll get a nice... No, he won't. Johansson's going to come straight back past him again, and retains 29th position.
Radek Liski and Martin Kapal had a brilliant side-by-side. I was looking at one of the cars in the pit lane. But now I've spotted these guys, and they're going hammer and tongs. Jeff and Jacob. Oh, that's going to be close. Yeah. Great move. So now let's look at a 3-way battle now. It's Kapal, Liski, actually 4-way. Katila and Parapo are here as well. But actually, I think Kapal's done brilliantly to gain time at the chicane, and it's put Radek Liski under a lot of pressure.
Yes, he made a great move into turn number 3 there, Eoin, unseen by the cameras. Yari Katia locks up, and that gives Kaiki Parapo a chance to go around the inside. Parapo thinks better of it into this always narrowing uphill right-hander. Now the circuit plunges down. That's a really good corner, actually. That's a really enjoyable corner. And who was that in the wall?
Vidoviarts was an innocent passenger there. He saw Kaiki Parapo understeer into the barrier before the motorway, and he hit him in the very back bumper, and it caused the number 19 to pitch and go around. So that's a horrible incident there. You can't blame Vidoviarts at all for that. It was a racing incident, and he's suffered the most.
Yeah, that corner can, if you just wash slightly wide, it can be a pain. Especially if you're so close to another car. You can, Kadosh is right at the back. Koch, sorry. Butchering words as per usual. Now he's running to the back of Johansson into the final corner there, as he tries to make his way back off after having a spin early in the race. Back at the front, it appears as though Price and Holmes are making a move on the bus at the front, driven by the Lithuanian Vytautas Lagutskas. Of course, we're talking there about buses in different countries. Of course, at the moment, the Lithuanian bus is the best at the moment on this track. He leads by just over 1 second from Joe Holmes. Isaac Price in third, 2 seconds behind. Paolo Petrakankis is falling back slightly, but he's still within touching range. He's 4 seconds behind. And then the battle of the Finns is 4 seconds behind that between Pikkarainen and Katia. They're actually probably the closest cars on track.
Yeah, let's watch this, Chris. It's Katila on the ascendancy. His slipstreaming was going so well, but I think Eoin psyched out his opponent for just the moment he needed. Now,
Oh!
a big slide. Katia, what a save that is. But he'll be so peeved that his chance to get into the top 5 is lost for this moment.
Evan has made a position up again. He's up in the 7th position. You might have just seen that on stream. Little bit of contact there as he went around the outside. He's hit the wall on the inside, and he's going to lose that, and he's going to damage his car slightly. So Botev did make another great move for 7th position, but now he drops back again, and he's going to be very annoyed after that. Eoin. These corners around here, some of them, it just feels so you can just get closer to the wall than you can. It seems to just suck you in as you clip the inside wall, and back you drop. It's a frustrating thing in these big massive wide cars that really don't belong on a street track, but it's like F1 in Monaco, you have to do it.
Yeah, that's the way we want to see the drivers
easily come through
on
here,
all kinds of situations. Go ahead.
Into the wall. So Tautas hits the wall and is going to lose 3. Like Eoin goes around the outside as well. He loses 3 positions, so from 7th to 10th, he hit the wall in the hairpin. He just got a little bit wide and put the throttle down, oversteered into the wall, double hit on the wall, and he loses the 3 positions that he was trying to defend. And that's not great for the man who had such a great run at Rockingham.
Certainly not, Chris. It's just the headache. You find a driver making a mistake, you make a mistake, and your hopes are dashed when you thought they were rescued.
Speaking of dashing, Lagutskas' hopes at the moment are receding as Joe Holmes continues to close the gap. The gap now at the front is just down to under a second. Isaac Price remains 2 seconds behind the leader and maintaining a watching brief. Now Joe Holmes has the first sub 1 minute 34 lap of this race. 1 minute 33.88 is the fastest lap of the race now by Joe Holmes, who's visibly quicker at this stage of the race than the car in the lead.
Yeah, you can certainly see it for yourselves, audience. The Goosecast is now going to have to compromise some of his favourite racing lines because he's going to be followed ever closer with Joe Holmes, one of our great drivers in the GT2 Challenge. He's actually had a good run. That's probably where the FXR thrives. The bouncy section there, you're going to lose some of your grip, and it allows the Goosecast just that little extra to brake. But now for the final hairpin, lovely stuff by the 2 drivers there, Pickerainen and I think it was Catilla still battling away there. But yeah, the Goosecast has probably the slight advantage here. May have gained 1/10 of a second back on Holmes. Yeah, about that, 6/10 of a second.
Well, yeah, I mean, Joe was closer to the hairpin, but then he made a slight error under braking. So it's 0.8 of a second now, 134.2 from Joe Holmes, 134.4 from Tautas Lagutskas. Isaac Price gains a little bit on the 2. And Godge and Johansson are side by side into the hairpin. Godge making up 2 positions unseen by us. He's back up into 29th position, recovering from his earlier spin, as is Reg LeBlanc there, recovering as well after going backwards down the track into turn number 2. It was not a good lap for Angry Angus Racing that, both cars getting spun out in separate instances. Speaking of Jeremy,
Jürgen Weber, Chris, yeah.
Carry on, Eoin.
Sorry, yeah, it is a potential Angry Angus joy here with Jürgen Weber now. It's a slip, but Jared Mead tries again at turn 2. No. That was great defensive work from Weber. He had a compromised line, but again, the slippery nature of the XRR wheel-wheel drive has hampered the Canadian ever so slightly. Giorsetti in the mirrors now of the 98. So now they have to reset and try again.
He was, of course, a lap down after his adventures with his puncture earlier in the race, so that's unfortunate for him. He's a lap down the entire field now. The Goodscast leads by 0.6 of a second. Isaac Price is moving into position in 3rd behind Joe Holmes. 34.4 from the Goodscast. Sorry, 34.0 from the Goodscast, 34.4 from Joe Holmes. Actually, the Goodscast pulled away, actually. Sorry, my bad on that last lap. Price 34 dead. Peltzer-Kankis 33.99, so he's still in the hunt. This is quite a little interesting four-way fight at the front, Eoin. Be interesting to see the various strategies that are on play. We are 18 laps into this 58 laps race. We are approaching rapidly half distance, which will come very, very soon, remarkably.
Yeah, El Hanouni, we just saw him overtake Liski on camera, and now we have another battle for you to observe. It's Jared Mead and Jürgen Weber again. And again, Weber has the inside line this time, but Jared Mead, he loves the late braking that is on offer here. Weber oversteers. It's offered him now, turn 3 on a silver platter. And it's taken. Corsetti doesn't care that he's a lap down. He wants to get involved. But there you go, Jared Mead finally has P22.
Yeah, nice move. It seems so Weber was trying to power out the corner as best he could be. He got a little bit of oversteer despite the four-wheel drive system. That just opened up the door for Jared Mead, who slipped through nice and clean. Good move from Jared. But out is the Goodscast and Joe Holmes have done the exact same lap time, 1 minute 33.75. So the battle at the front really, really very similar at the moment. In fact, the front four all within a tenth of a second of each other on that lap, all in the 33s.
It's mind-boggling stuff, just how good these top contenders truly are.
Yeah, and behind them, Pickerainen and Katia just about in the 33s as well. So you have 6 cars really, really flying here along, matching each other very closely.
Al Hanouni wants to get another overtake done with his FZR against an XRR of Kaikai Propo. And it's not quite going to turn out here, but it's down to turn 2 they go.
Yeah, Propo's struggling with his rear tyres at the moment. He seems to, I know he's been sliding around quite a lot, but it seems those rear tyres have burned down. He's having absolutely no traction. I expect if Al Hanouni's quite cautious in his overtaking chances and doesn't go too aggressive with his FZR, he will be through very, very soon on Piroppo, who's really, really struggling to maintain those tyres. Look at him sliding around in front of us here as we are on board with El Hanouni. So that's not great for him. Piroppo holding on to 19th just now and into the wall, so here's a good chance here for El Hanouni. You can see there Piroppo just has no real rear grip, especially during the faster corners. Now can he get a run?
Second and third are neck and neck here, Chris. Isaac Price. Oh, he just can't quite go side by side any longer, but he decides the dive bomb is the way to go.
Holmes runs out though.
But it's too much heat into that corner. Joe Holmes survives. This is a crucial moment, Chris.
Yeah, something must have happened there because Joe suddenly dropped back. He must have been narrow in this final sector because he dropped back by by 1.3 seconds from the back of Vitautas the Goodscast, and he managed just to hold off Isaac Price's move into turn number 2, making the switchback work for him, as you're always going to have an opportunity to do great racing there between our 2 championship contenders, or top 2 in the championship, but not in this race so far. They battle for second. Vitautas the Goodscast leads in the FXR by 2 seconds with Joe Holmes and then Isaac Price. In fact, Price actually ended the last lap, Eoin, unseen by us ahead as they came to the start-finish straight, so we've clearly missed something interesting happening, which is unlike us.
Yeah, it's absolute pity about that. We just don't know what happened. We have caught some incidents as they played out. This one, we'll need to ask Joe about that if he can survive and get the podium.
It's a good time to mention. It's good to. It's a good time to mention actually that recently Live for Speed developers have announced that there will be replays, proper replay system for things like broadcasts coming in the future within Live for Speed. So eventually we will be able to easily show you what happened there between Joe Holmes and Isaac Price. But yeah, not just now. Unfortunately, we don't know either.
Off camera, Chris. I saw Santu Sara make a mistake out of turn 7, and it's allowed one of our newcomers, that's Pedro Martinez, overtake for 24th. double whammy for the CSF car of Sarah. As Vidoviarts, oh, it's a argy here. Vidoviarts will have to give that. Oh
Whoa!
no! Oh, it's a tail whip there from the 94 FZR. That is aggressive stuff. May not have noticed what was going on. Vidoviarts, Christ fell there. That was unpleasant watching, I have to say, but it's another racing incident.
Vidovier's front wing looks more like an F1 car now than it did a GTR. After all the contact he's had on both sides, yeah, very interesting. I wonder if that's more aerodynamic one.
I'd say those wheels are not quite as aerodynamically efficient as you'd like.
So whatever's happened to Joe Holmes, unseen by us, he's not really got back into rhythm yet to chase Vitautas Lagutskas, who is very much extending his lead. He's on a 33.4 rate on this lap, and Price and Holmes are falling back at the moment, Owen. It's over 3 seconds, the gap now at the front.
Well spotted. This was Lagutskas' moment. And we have a pit stop for Botev. Botev enters pit lane, Chris. As
Yeah,
he planned that one out. It's an early one.
Interesting. So I think Botev has decided. Holmes!
Oh!
Something's happened there to Joe Holmes,
and
he's made the wall.
Car.
Yeah, it was back marker, but he's back past Price again. Did Isaac let him through then?
Yeah, Joe Holmes defending now. He had a contact with Derlan in the gum garage. And look at Peltikangas.
Price on the inside! Oh, side by side. How on earth is not making contact with anything? Wow, incredible racing there between Joe Holmes and Isaac Price. Peltikangas has a great run now on Price, who's dropped back on Holmes. Again, we missed him, but apparently it was contact there between one of the back markers and Joe Holmes, who was suddenly slowed down. Price had the opportunity to make the pass, didn't make it through, and Holmes managed to make it back past him again. Peltikangas ran the outside now of Isaac Price. This is great news for Vitautas Lagutskas, who has very much extended his lead again on this lap.
Yeah, that is just a back marker. The chicane is the very, very treacherous place to visit a race leader if you're going to be lapped. It's so blind, and the exit there, you don't know what's coming. But now Pauli Peltikangas and Isaac Price battle away, but it's up to Pauli what he's going to do. Defensive move from Isaac, but even more bravery on display. Peltikangas holds onto the slide and it's P3. Six seconds between Lagutskas and Holmes now. That's caused so much chaos for our podium battlers here. The race leader skirts away. Jared Mead has action in front of him and action to deal with Radek Luski. Radek Luski is attacking Mikaike Propo, decides to pit. Chris, you did catch his tyres giving up on him. So that battle comes to an end. Kaike Propo slows down to the speed limit and he pits. So just a little short of halfway. Yeah, so look at Pauli Peltikangas and Isaac Price. Again, they come to the close proximity to each other there. Good defensive movement from the 13. Now it looks like a getaway there for the Finn. That's a half-second gap for the final spot on the podium. Yeah, so Johansson lets the race leader through. That was just before the chicane actually started, so no threat of being caught unawares of what was going on. But the drivers are generally split up from each other now, less battles taking place. Isaac Price made
So-
a little mistake, Chris. He taps the wall once and taps it twice. That's got to frustrate the Welshman here.
I think he's
Cannot
quite.
do it any more times.
I think he's driving quite angry after that incident. I think that they've all sort of lost their heads over the last few laps, and it's really affecting the rhythm. And the rhythm really is a massive thing here at South City. He's now stopped playing the FXR. Was he playing the long game all along with Joe Holmes and Vitautas Lagutskas? We'll only find out later in the race. Peltokankis and Price very, very squarely there. So the incident that happened there actually was very interesting. The FXR of the Gum Garage car was stopped on track to let Vitautas Lagutskas through, and then just didn't get back up to speed, and was sitting kind of in the middle of the road when Joe Holmes and Isaac Price came through the chicane. So not the greatest of blue flag etiquette there.
Yeah, I did something like that myself in pre-qualifying. I was on the exit of the chicane. I was on the wrong side for one of the drivers making full throttle, and we collided, but thankfully nothing more of it. But in a race situation, that's got to utterly deflate Holmes's confidence. Such a horrible thing to happen, but it could have been worse.
Yeah, the FXR actually got air when he was hit by Joe Holmes in the rear corner, but yeah, not an ideal place to be stopping on the track and then trying to get back up to speed again when the race leaders are coming up behind you. But it'll certainly be interesting to see how this race develops now. Vitautas Lagutskas leads by 6.4 seconds. Peltokankis is in third position in the FXR ahead of Isaac Price, who's now 9 seconds behind his Chad Sports teammate Eoin, and that's going to be a difficult one to recover from.
Agreed, yeah. Just a little incident in the midfield, potentially. Jeremiah Zanella and Przemek Vidoviarts. There was a mistake for Zanella, and it's allowed Vidoviarts into the 23rd position, or 24th, excuse me. Nicely played. Or that was to get lapped, so Zanella's been lapped at the minute. I apologise. That was good driving, but Pedro Martinez is the next driver ahead for the pole. And a fastest personal best there, one of the drivers.
So after all that drama, we are now approaching half distance. We're on lap 26 out of 58 of this round 3 of GT2 Challenge 2021 by New Dimension Racing here on simbroadcast.tv on Twitch, and it's been led from start to finish by an FXR so far today. That's a highly unusual thing. Just I say that he drives into the wall. Don't want to be doing that too many times. Vitautas, despite your big 7-second lead, second, third, and fourth have all had an adventurous race so far. As we get closer and closer to when I believe that these front runners will begin to think about making pit stops between laps 35 and 45. So it'll be interesting to see who'll come in first. Will it be the FXR or will it be the XRR? The XRR should actually gain some time in the pits as well. So if Holmes can get his rhythm back, he can still have an opportunity, I think, to get the lead in the pit stop phase.
Yeah, that's the best way back into the race if pit stop strategy pays off. A battle in the midfield, or the very sort of back of the pack. Magic's been lapped actually, so yeah, he had to keep it sensible. All the 37 runners should have had their chance on camera. So if your favourite driver pops up, I hope you gave him a cheer. Well, I know I have my favourite runner. Doesn't take a lot to guess who it is.
Is it Nico Pantola?
Maybe for you, Chris.
This is like annoying Nico. It's fun. Anyway, we do have one, you say 37 runners, we did have one retirement in Patrick Hinkala, who retired earlier on lap 13 of this race, unfortunately for him, in the Born Race car. But 37 remain, as you say, a win 37 out of 38 starters on this tight and twisty track, led at the moment by Vitautas Lugutskas in the FXR Chad Esports, leading again, but it's not their usual leader, it's Vitautas Lugutskas in a different car this round, and it's certainly paying off for him at the moment.
Yeah, that's the personal strategy. He did it for his own need, and it could help out his team in the long run. And he's paid off with another fastest lap.
Sorry, Eoin. Mead and Ellen Nooney have hit in the... and Mead's around! He couldn't avoid him for a second time. Now he's going to have to... Well, that's not going to be good for Jared Mead. He's going to have to wait and wait and wait for a gap to be able to get back into the track. He is the wrong way, and there's a pile of cars coming down toward him. Mead has already had one incident today where he got spun to no fault of his own, and again here it's happened to him again, which is unfortunate. Alan Nooney hit the wall and just spun, and Mead couldn't avoid him, and around he went, and Mead's trying to do the old trick of spinning round on the barrier. He should get around now.
Joe Holmes overtakes him now. Oh!
Yep. Whoa!
Oh, goodness me. Oh, he's got tyre problems, no doubt about it.
Yeah, Mead will be in the pits because his tyres have been completely worn away there. So that's another annoyed, angry Angus, or what did you call him earlier? Frustrated
Furious
Angus. Furious Angus racing, yes. Driver today. It's been very unfortunate what's happened to them today. The comeback, Jared had actually made a good comeback actually there. He was up in the higher reaches of the top 20, but spun around earlier. But he's definitely going to pit now and make changes to his strategy. Oh, there's a car flying through the air. Who on earth was that? Down the front straight. It's Zanella. Zanella's off in turn number 1 underneath the bridge. He hit the wall. He hit the wall in sort of piff-paffy section on the run down to turn number 1. Nice, sort of flying through the air, and then all of a sudden he was in the barrier in turn number 1 the wrong way round. And that's not unfortunate for him, and now he's in front of Joe Holmes, so he's to get out of the way.
It's lap traffic. Very bad time to meet him.
Jared Mead has made it back to the pits after that incident.
Radek Lusky and Jürgen Weber battling once again. Unfortunately for Lusky, it's just a little too far back to slipstream him. Benoit Lemarly for Gum Garage is attacking a CSF Esports competitor. It's Sarah defending now, and Jeff and Jacob is watching to see what these two do next. We'll be watching out for a stricken driver with a puncture very soon. Yes, so Chris, what can you see with puncture?
It's Zanella. Zanella's punctured his tyre trying to make it back round to the pits, and he's struggling massively after his incident at the start of the race. At the start of the lap, sorry. So, yeah, we've just got over the halfway distance now, though. That we're on to lap 30 out of 58, and still Vitautas Lugutskas leads. And here is our leader today, Vitautas Lugutskas in the Chad Esports FXR. I wish it was an FXR, that would be a lot nicer to look at. But it's an FXR. And Eoin, this has been a dominant first half of the race for Vitautas.
Yeah, it's a dream. 50% of the distance for Vitautas, and he has David Gotch letting him through at the hairpin. That's positive news for him. He just needs to he's got about, I'd say, 7 or 8 seconds to the next lap car. That's as good a gap as you can expect around here. Lots and lots of space for him now. Joel Holmes doing his best to catch up, but it's only 7.4 seconds. Well, it is a huge gap in comparison to what we saw earlier, but let's see what's going on now in the pits.
Yeah, we're starting to get toward pit window time. In fact, Laguskas is pitting. Laguskas is pitting just after halfway. Now I'm surprised by that one, as he comes down into the pits to get 4 new tyres and get a refueling job done. Joe Holmes takes the lead. So this is going to be changing the course of this race, Eoin, because I.
No problem, Chris. Yeah, so I did comment that there was no traffic ahead of Laguskas for quite a while, and he decides it was the right time to pit, especially in an FXR.
Yeah, so it seems as though that he was running light, so that might explain some things, but it was still very interesting for splits. Now, if I were Joe Holmes, I'd be thinking I have an opportunity here to run longer. How long, though, we don't know yet with this R2R2 XRR compound. Let's see what happens. Vytautas Laguskas comes out in 11th position. So he's gone from 1st to 11th in this race, and now we will see how long can Joe Holmes, how long can Pauli Peltokankis and Isaac Price go in this race. Can they bring down that 7-second gap that Vytautas Laguskas had brought forward in this race? This is where the race will be won and lost after 31 on lap 31 out of 58 here at South City.
And the trouble now for Laguskas is he's got countryman Brzezinskas ahead of him, and that's for position, so there'll be absolutely no love lost between these two. They want to show off in their FXRs who's got the best of the rest now. Let's see how they battle in the next 2 or 3 laps. Benoit Lemerly has also taken a pit stop.
Joe Holmes' first lap in the lead is a 1:33.61, so Holmes moving toward his own personal fastest lap of the race there. Peltokankis does a 34.0. They're in traffic, and it looks as though Isaac Price is lining up a move for second place. Now, Peltokankis is going longer, obviously, than Vytautas Laguskas. It'll be interesting to see how much further he goes. I didn't expect Laguskas to be in this early. I thought, that he would certainly go to about lap 40, 45. So it's very surprising to see him in the pits, but it could create an interesting final part of this race.
So let's keep an eye out on Price heading down to the hairpin. The driver to watch now. He's got to watch out for Zanella as well here. Zanella hasn't yielded just yet. So Pauli Peltokankis is going to be compromised. Peltokankis really badly held up now. This is Isaac Price's opportunity. It's fallen into his lap, Chris. This is quite extraordinary. Peltokankis probably wants to slipstream now at this stage. It's the only way to get back a little bit what he's been denied. So
there wasn't much.
Peltokankis does pull away just a little bit.
There's not really much Zanella can do around there. He has to run the one line through that corner. It didn't really cost Peltokankis too much. Price is a bit too far back to attack. And now out to that final corner, he gets the big run and he's away. Joe Holmes leads by 3.4 seconds after 32 laps of this race ahead of Pauli Peltokankis and Isaac Price. Laguskas is in a battle now with the fellow FXR runner for 10th position, so this is not what he needs at this moment in time. Just fresh out of the pits and fresh runner. And now it's all starting to slip away a little bit, but actually that's not too bad of a first out lap there for Vytautas Laguskas. Let's see what his time is across the line.
Yeah, so this has happened quicker than expected. I thought this would take 2 or 3 laps.
Laguskas is a 34.38.
0.2 better than Brzezinskas's time. It's Magic getting out of the way. He's a lap down. Trouble for our number 19 runner, Vidoviarts. As you commented earlier, Chris, his aerodynamic profile has changed with his open wheel format. Whether he wanted that or not, I don't think so. So, Chris, we still have our second and third place runners competing with each other. The gap for second and third is 3/4 of a second. It's not enough to catch up without the aid of a mistake. There we go. Chris Lagouskas is ahead of Verzinskas. Benoit Lemarly is going to get lapped.
Or is he?
Or is he going to make the attack? A triple threat here. Lemarly gets out of the way sensibly, but Verzinskas wants to return.
No, he's leaving him alone. He's decided that he needs to just run his own race. Lagutskas moves into 10th position and holds off Verzinskas, who had a great run at Rockingham, has been a little bit more anonymous here at South City. He said he was going to practice a little bit more, didn't he, Eoin? And maybe that's not ended up happening for him.
Yeah, he would have targeted this round as a pivotal one for his FXR. And if he's only 10th, he won't be too happy, I don't think. The stop-go penalty.
That's for the Joe Holmes incident, Eoin. Yeah. That's Philippe Derrien in the FXR, the garage car, has been given a stop-go penalty for causing the incident with Joe Holmes that we discussed earlier on the race that caused the almighty change in the standings. Isaac Price getting shovelled back behind Paolo Peltikankis. Interestingly enough, Joe Holmes is absolutely on fire at the moment and has extended his lead over Peltikankis to 4.3 seconds. He really has beaten the first one out of that train that got involved in that incident to get his rhythm back going, and it's looking good for Joe at the moment.
It's a great observation, Chris, and not too far away from our race leader is this battle for 19th. Pedro Martinez and Daniel Bala are going to go head to head with an FXR and an XRR in combat here. But our Chilean newcomer holds the inside line very kindly there. Good job. And they'll now head onto the motorway where we'll see side-by-side battle.
Yeah, Battle has been very quiet today. He's normally involved in a lot more battles, and we normally get to see quite a lot of him, but he's been a little bit quieter today, but he's coming up there to try and take Martinez for 19th at the end of the lap.
The getaway for Martinez, that looked very nice to me. Got his foot flat on the floor to grip, but now the slipstream, he has no one to help him out, so Bala will gain a couple of tenths back. He's not going to dive. No, there was no need to dive. Oh, Martinez always missed his apex, so he won't be too happy with that. But with the nature of South City being on the streets, he doesn't have to worry about gravel or anything like that, so it didn't matter where he understood. Oh, he's braked early as well there. Good awareness for Bala, avoiding smashing into the back. And here we go again, another lap with these two. Fantastic watching, seeing the two variants of car. Oh, he's going for the outside. Oh, could he get the switchback? No. Martinez again, very quick. That's excellent job. Yeah, well done. Oh, into the wall goes Bala. That might have cost him. He would have dropped a couple of miles an hour.
Some interesting information.
That was Jari Kittelä. Yeah, Jari Kittelä defending from Botef, who was looking fantastic in the early runnings of the race. But his early enough pit stop means he has to combat the traffic for position.
I was going to say some interesting information from our resident German stat master Thilo Falkenberg. Hello out there, Thilo, sitting in here being quiet. If Joe Holmes wins and Isaac Price finishes third, both are actually tied in the championship, but Isaac would lead due to a fastest lap in round one. Of course, that means that nothing would change for the remainder of this race and nobody would change fastest laps, but it's that close if this finishes this way around.
Yeah, fantastic calculations as usual from Thilo, but a mistake from Yarkatilla may have allowed Botev through. Oh, Botev couldn't find the gap before the parking multi-story, so not quite a move done yet. Pit stops for Versinskas and Pontola. Now let's return to the rear view of Yarkatilla. It's Botev down the inside now for the final hairpin. Oh, the A pillar rubs with the rear of Botev, and that's caused him to drift wide. And he has to do it all over again with the slipstream on the back, the start finish straight. It's very, very tense between these two. You can't make a mistake. It will certainly ruin Botev's ambition.
Oh,
Here
side
got
by
another
side
move.
into turn number 1, Eoin. That's not going to go well. Botev has to
Oh.
get out of it. They both have to give room to each other. Botev tries to go around the outside. Can he make the switchback move on Jari Katia, father of Yoni? He's holding his ground there, but in a really good exit, actually. And Boris Botev will be furious. He's made his pit stop. He wants to get that 15th position and get back to where he feels he should be in this race, which was comfortably within the top 10.
I think there's been bumping between these guys. About 2 or 3 moments where they collected, but they kept it in a straight line.
There's interesting back. It's Kapal is in front of Price and Peltikankis through the first sector. That's not gone well for Peltikankis. He's lost out a little bit. Price has gained time on him now in this battle for second position. Joe Holmes continues to lead by 4.5 seconds. Where is Vytautas Lagutskas? He is in 9th position. He is running solid low 34 lap times at the moment. It could be interesting to see whether he gets out of the pits in front. Remember, he had a 7-second advantage over Joe Holmes when he came into the pits, and also he'll be going through the heat peak, which should mean he's quicker once these XR boys come out of the pits. So that'll be another interesting, fascinating run through the second half of this race. 38 laps have been completed at the end of this one. Holmes leads from Peltikankis and Price. These two are on screen now. The pink Sidus Racing FXR. Price has a slipstream, but I don't think he's quite close enough to have a think about it into the final corner. Will he just hold off and wait for turn number 1 and turn number 2? The FXR normally gets a great run out of this final corner, but Price is all up at his back bumper, and he's surely going to have a good run here down toward the first corner. And Peltikankis goes into the pits, so Isaac Price loses the slipstream, and the XRRs have gone longer than the FXRs, Eoin.
Now that is a surprise. I don't know how our XRR drivers have managed it, but they're keeping those tires going. So our new occupants on the podium, as of the moment, it's Pikkarainen in 3rd and Joni Katila in 4th.
Now, who comes out in front? So the good guys could be well ahead of Peltikankis actually after all that. So that's advantage for Vytautas Lagutskas. So that's interesting. We'll see what the gap is between Vytautas Lagutskas. I think it was 9 seconds before the pit stops between Vytautas Lagutskas and Pauli Peltikankis. So let's see now that they've both made their pit stops. Lagutskas is 7th. And the answer is, at the moment, it's down to 6.2. So, Joe Holmes was 4 seconds in front. So I think Joe Holmes is round about 2 seconds short, depending on who has the quick pit stops of Vytautas Lagutskas. So, when will Joe Holmes be in the pits? He carries on to lap 40. Again, as I thought the FXRs would pit, the XRs would pit between lap 40 and lap 45. It's almost another fast lap of the race from Joe Holmes. He's still absolutely charging.
An XRR does pit. It's Pikkarainen off the podium he goes. So Joni Katila is now on the bronze medal position. So he's held on for the majority of the race, but not enough.
Joe Holmes with a 1 minute 33.37 is really on the move at the moment, and I think he's going to get ever closer the longer he goes to the back of Vytautas Lagutskas.
Jeff and Jacob down the inside of Martinez. Oh, they're virtually neck and neck for this turn 3. Martinez defends. Jürgen Weber is in position as well if he wants it. 3 FXRs. Yeah, so the Laguskas has caught up to these drivers now. He has to be allowed through with the blue flags waving. Oh, Jeffen was slow to respond. Jürgen Weber, though, he was okay. And now he's benefited. Jürgen Weber's gone to steal in for position. That's the dream situation for Weber. The blue flag has actually paid off for him. But with Martinez on his own, he'll have a moment to let our former race leader by. But it's not going to be for too long, because otherwise he'll be pipped by Weber as well.
I get the feeling that could be one of the moments that cost Vytautas Laguskas the victory here today. Joe Holmes continues to lap in the 1 minute 30, the low 1 minute 33s. Laguskas was already lapping in the low 34s, so his lead that was 7 seconds before this round of pit stops was already coming down, but the time lost there is really going to be crucial. When will Holmes and Price be in the pits? Holmes has a 5.8 second lead.
Concentrate on Angry Angus, where we've lamented their bad luck, but they're going 2v1 on my teammate Stephen Martin. This is crazy stuff. We've got poor old Steve doing his best to defend here. Reg is very, very quick around here. Just the dabble of bad luck has cost him, and it's going to be formation driving now. Steve has the defensive position engaged. Reg LeBlanc wants to perform a cut on the inside, and he's got him. The acceleration does prove helpful to one of the Canadians here, number 59 LeBlanc, and now Jared Mead has the position as well, but I don't think he's going to get it immediately heading into turn number 1. Quick lift there for Martin. Mead has the outside. It's job done as Botef needs to overtake for the blue flags. What a battle between these 3.
They just ganged up on a poor old Steve there, didn't they, Owen? It's just not very nice. I can't say what I really want to say, or what I would say if we're going on broadcast right now, but poor old Steve. Angry Angus, they're treating him like a piece of meat.
Yeah, well, it's still points from our team. That's the main thing. Let's join our Bulgarian charger Botef, who now has the lapping to do. Jared Mead was a little too close for comfort with Reg, but I think he realised now is the right time to let the faster driver through. Now what we're going to see with LeBlanc.
Interestingly enough, Laguskas is in the 33s and is really now beginning to take away Joe Holmes' advantage that Holmes has been having over the last few laps. So Laguskas getting back up to speed now, and he's got clear track in front of him. This will be interesting to see if he could suddenly get into position to save his race at the moment. It's a battle, it looks like, between those two for victory.
Pauli Peltokangas was caught up by traffic as we look at Pedro Picanco making a pit stop. He was running extremely well. So yeah, Pauli could be caught very soon.
As I say that Vytautas Laguskas was closing in on Joe Holmes' pace, Joe Holmes then does a 1 minute 33.28 to take the fast lap of the race away, and Isaac Price is in from second position, so Price couldn't go as long as, and so is Katia. So second and third are in the pits, where Katia come out ahead of Matthias Pikkarainen, who he's been battling for fifth position all race. And Lecky Koinen is also in. So Price leaves the pitch just now. Where is Vytautas Laguskas? You'd imagine he's going to be ahead. He's not ahead yet. Yep, Laguskas is going to be ahead of.
Oh, he's hit the wall.
Or is he?
He hit the wall. Bit of a smack.
Just through Laguskas. So Laguskas So that tells us, I think, that Joe Holmes is in command of this race, Owen. The fact that Price is that close. Price was 4.5 seconds behind of Joe Holmes, who we'd expect in the pits very, very soon. So that tells you that Joe Holmes is probably a couple of seconds now ahead of Vitautas Lagutskis. As I said earlier, that kerfuffle in this chicane that they're going through just now with the back markers really, really, I think, cost Lagutskis quite a lot. But here's the thing, he's gone through his heat peak, he's gone through the stage where his tyres will struggle, and Joe Holmes still has to go through that in the last 15 laps. Yes, it will have less fuel to go through, but I wonder if Lagutskis can catch Holmes while Holmes comes up to temperature, as Joe Holmes does come into the pits for his one and only stop at the end of the 43rd lap. Lagutskis comes into the motorway section. Holmes stops in his pit garage. How quick will the stop be? It'll be very quick, with just 15 laps worth of fuel needed. Holmes has, I think, got a 3-second lead, would be my guess, Owen.
Yeah, I'll entrust your guess, Chris, but it's going to be close.
Very
Joe
quick
Holmes is
stop
away.
for Joe Holmes. And he is a good distance so far ahead of Vitautas Lagutskis, who comes thundering down into turn 1, but Joe Holmes has the lead, and you have to think now it's going to be very difficult for anybody to beat him, Owen.
Yeah, the traffic element is still going to be visible for the last quarter of the race, but with Holmes that far ahead, you know, that it's going to feel so satisfying after that original blue flag incident.
Yeah, the gap is actually 5 seconds, so it was further than I thought it would be. So Joe Holmes had the longer stint there than Vitautas Lagutskis, and he's used a good advantage to get the lead. So can Isaac Price get up into second position to maintain his overall championship lead? I think it's going to be difficult. That FXRs look quick today.
Another battle to look out for is Kaike Propo against Carlos Motogitis. Motogitis started near the back, so we haven't really been able to speak too much about him. Yeah, so Propo also not quite matching his ultimate potential.
So I was going to say, Joni Katia did come out ahead of Matthias Pikkarainen in the battle for 5th, and he's actually very, very close to Pauli Peltokankas, so it'll be interesting. It looks as though Joni Katia is running for 4th.
Yeah, Vitautas and Nekkoinen are one of the other battles that is getting hot. The slipstream is going to come in very shortly. Oh, here comes Nekkoinen, drafting the Team Sidus car. Not enough to make a dive bomb, unfortunately. You can just see how agonizingly close it is. Vitautas does miss the apex and misses his grip on the outside. Hits the rear tires against the wall. Another overlap coming up. No, has to stay alert there. Very, very tight. Into the chicane they come, so Vitautas is feeling pressure now. But I think he's got it held for now, but you have to favour Nekkoinen.
The battle at the front, actually, Lagutskis has gained a 1.5 seconds on Joe Holmes on this lap, so it's down to 4.1 seconds again.
Jared Mead gains a position on Lemarly. Nekkoinen, oh, it's so close now. This must be it. It was a lot closer than it was last lap, Chris.
Tautis has got massive problems with his right rear tyre. We remember discussed at the top of the show that that is the tyre to look out for today, and he's really struggling with traction zones. Lecky Koinen will have to be brave going around the outside there. They managed not to collide again. Can Lecky Koinen go for the switchback into turn number 2? No, he decides to go alongside into the corner, but here comes the switchback. You mentioned he's got the better run. No, he got a little bit squirrely himself, and he drops back. Botev and Lapanikas are side by side into turn 1. Botev swings around the outside into turn 1. I've seen him do that a couple of times today. Oh, and then turns in on Lapanikas. He was still there. Gets a little bit of a slide on, but Botev just holds on to the car and gets up into 12th position again.
Yeah, he must have known the defence was coming, so he was making his left wheels turn, but the grip was there for the oversteer. Lipanex. Oh, he's actually clipped the wall himself, so that's a little bit more time lost. Yeah, you can just see in the background there.
Tautis and Lecky Koinen still going at it down this back straight. Tautis has pulled out a little bit of a gap on this lap.
Oh, and Kake Parapo and the Doviarts, they've made contact at the final hairpin. And there's a lap traffic coming up here. I think that is Versinskas. It's going to lap them up here.
This has been a very, very fast and frenetic action race again for GT2 Challenge. They always seem to be like this season in particular. We're on lap 47 out of 58. Eoin, would you like to run us down the top 10 again?
I shall do. And starting with our race leader, it's Joe Holmes, who originally lost it, but he has it again. Followed by Vitautas Laguskas in P2. Isaac Price has the third position as of now. Pauli Paltakangas is a newcomer to this series. He's P4. Jani Katila is within range as well. He's going to be called in 5th place. And Pekka Rainen has P6. Pedro Picanco, he's been one of the quiet drivers today, but it's rewarded him with 7th place. And 8th and 9th are within range, but it's the Tautas in 8th, Lecky Koinen in 9th. And completing the top 10, it's Darius Versinskas.
Yep, thank you, Eoin. That's the top 10 rundown with 10 laps to go. At the front, the gap remains relatively static. In fact, Laguskas is gaining by a couple of tenths of a second per lap, but he's not making the inroads he needs to make into Joe Holmes' lead. Joe Holmes staying out longer has given him back the advantage. Laguskas went round the outside and did the switchback actually, didn't he, into turn number 1 at the start of the race to take the lead from pole position man Joe Holmes, and he built up a gap of a few seconds before there was an incident between Holmes in second position, Isaac Price in third, and Pauli Peltikankis. I keep wanting to say the wrong name today for some reason. Anyway, with a back marker that caused them to lose up to 5 seconds in one lap, and that gave Laguskas a good lead. But he, for some reason, was running a 50-50 strategy today. He pitted at the end of the 30th lap, and that is where Joe Holmes struck and started doing a lot of sub or low 1 minute 33 second lap times, rapid lap times in this track, to wrest the lead. He was 7 seconds behind in the pit stops before the pit stops, but going that extra 12 laps gave him the lead, and now he holds the lead by 4 seconds, and he is trying to get his tyres through the heat peak and hold on and away ahead of Vitautas Laguskas.
Borislav Botev, he's on the ascendancy here against Nico Pantola. If he can make it stick here, he's got lap traffic that could help him out. It's not quite done yet.
Nico's rears are very, very hot for this stage, so he's having a massive oversteer of every single traction zone there. Botev knows that. He can see the back of that FZR is struggling, and Botev now is a good slipstream. He's going to go down the inside into the final corner. I think this should be quite an easy move. And it is. Botev up into 11th. He was as high as 7th earlier before. Again, another one who pitted reasonably early, but that means he's quite quick at the end of the stint. I think he might be able to gain quite a few more positions, Eoin. Pantola is in the slipstream, but I don't know if Nico will think about making the move. Oh, he is going to make the move. Okay, Nico Pantola wants to go to the outside of turn number 1. Here we go, side by side, Botev and Pantola is ahead out of turn number 1. Surely he's not going to go right around the outside. Botev sticks it in there. Oh, and somehow they didn't make contact with each other, but they did both make contact with the wall, and Botev now is ahead of Nico Pantola, and surely that is definitely now 11th position for Boris Botev.
You could just feel the revs for Pantola. He didn't relent with his accelerator until it was absolutely necessary. It was blinding stuff, but well done to Botev. He held on to the position that he gained. There's lap traffic again, just on the edge of your screens there.
Only one car has yet to pit. That's it is Santu Sara for, well, I've got to say this for the first time in this race, CSF Esports. He has not pitted. He is in 18th position at the moment, with another beautiful anime livery. Anyway, so the gap at the front is 4.14 seconds. Holmes lost a couple of tenths again to Lagutskas, and also Isaac Price was also quicker on that previous lap as well, but it seems as though Holmes has it all under control on lap 50 out of 58.
Lap traffic there of Sarah should let our race leader by very soon indeed. But it's very close. You just catch that on the edge of your screens there. That was Sarah picking the edge of the barrier downhill to let our race leader by, but definitely a raised heartbeat there. I think Lagutskas and Price, they can't be separated right now. But is it going to be a late surge for one of these guys? They've got their fresh tyres. But they have to make their moves very, very soon, Chris.
Yeah, I think Holmes looks quite comfortable at the front now. Obviously, the XRR has newer tyres, but that shouldn't be an advantage at this moment. They'll be getting the graining phase out of the way, but of course the car is lighter than it was at the start of the race, so the heat peak won't be as severe for the drivers that have come in pitch late, so Holmes continues just to do what he needs to do at the moment.
Santu Sara, oh, I think that no-stop strategy is starting to go against the Finnish driver now. Just has to make a decision now. Is he going to try and hold on to this top 20 at the ragged edge, or if he's going to play it safe and pit? And Radek Luski, it's a drop of position for him. Kaike Propo overtakes the FZR. And away goes Propo. He's a lot quicker now.
Vytautas Lagutskas has taken nearly half a second out of Joe Holmes on the first two splits of this lap. Holmes crosses line 33.64. What on earth is Lagutskas about to do? He's going to do a 33.35. That's pretty mighty at this stage of the race. It's down to 3.75 seconds. Isaac Price is 2 seconds behind Vytautas Lagutskas. Lagutskas making a charge. Unfortunately, our on-board with the FXR seems to be a little bit funny today, so we'd love to show you the on-board because we can see how much he is absolutely throwing this thing. Oh, he's working, so can we go on board with Vytautas? You can see how hard he is pushing this FXR as he tries to close in on Joe Holmes. He's taken another 2 tenths out in the first sector alone, Eoin.
It is sensational. It just needs to make the maths work. He has to find a little bit more though per lap. It will be close if this maintains.
He is going to be very, very annoyed at some of the incidents that happen with lap traffic. He's in the wall. The goods gas hits the wall in the final sector, and that's not going to be doing anything for him.
Yeah, it's a bad spot. It's going to cost him a lot of time on this back straight on the motorway. Catches the apex nicely on the hairpin. Oh, just misses that outside wall though.
Yeah, despite hitting the wall, he was actually quicker in the second sector than Joe Holmes. It's just that it would have cost him a little bit of time. The gap at the line as they come to the line is now down to 3.62. So yeah, Taylor's out in the final sector with having touched that wall. So 6 laps to go. Joe Holmes leads Vitautas the Goodscast by 3.62 seconds. Isaac Price in third position, another 2 seconds behind. And that's your top 3 in this race.
Look at Yanni Katila here, Chris. He's going to be let through by El Hanouni for the blue flag order. And that means that, he's just clipped the wall into the end of Sector 1. But it's going to be close for that 5th position. 4th and 5th. Picanco's been given a bit of a backhanded slap by Martinez. Not involved for that position at all, but it goes to show that if Martinez can get his full potential, he will be a quick driver in the remaining GT2 Challenge races.
Gap at the front down to 3.2 again. If he hadn't made that mistake for Tautas, it could be down to 2.5 right now, but he did make that mistake and laps are marching away. Joe Holmes comes to start lap 54 out of 58 in the XR with that beautiful first racing throwback livery with Monster on his number plate. And he is driven like a bit of a monster today, let's be honest. It's been a strange one, but he's in the lead, and it looks that it might finally be the time for Joe Holmes to take his first victory in GT2 Challenge.
Tautas having a bit of trouble with Jürgen Weber, even though that's not for position either, Chris. So I think some of these lap cars want to make a name for themselves late on. They've nothing to necessarily lose, but it would be odd for them to challenge quicker drivers on the track. They just need to back down and try to make sure they don't get overtaken by one of their actual opponents. Now Lecky Koinen is going to overtake the number 31 as well, but Weber leaves it till late. He wants to keep his momentum going because Martinez is there. Martinez is certainly there. He's right next to the German driver. That is ultra precision there, but it thankfully didn't end in tears. But he's gone.
Oh, it's going to end
and
tears
he's
now.
He's tried the Hollywood move, and I'm afraid he'll have to get a box of tissues. That's tears for Martinez.
Owen Harmon pulling a Murray Walker there. Nothing's gone wrong. Oh, it's gone wrong!
Right, well, that's the way it is. I have made some odd predictions, and they've inevitably gone wrong.
Anyway, Joe Holmes comes on to start lap 55 out of 58. The gap at the front again seems pretty static on this lap. It's 3.1 seconds. I think the wind has gone out of the Vitautas and Goodscast's charge. Holmes in charge.
Carappo has overtaken Martinez as well. That was on the motorway section. Martinez's car is undoubtedly going to suffer damage on the right front panel with that contact. Is this Joe Holmes's last headache coming up here? Lap traffic ahead with the race at stake It's not gonna.
It's Capel, and it is.
What said Duran? Duran in one of the Gun Garage cars, and Martin Capel. So Duran is the last runner. Capel is one of the quicker ones, but he's going to be lapped as well. Capel is 17th, so we've got multiple car laps, or multiply lapped car, and then one of the midfielders who has to get lapped as well. But Duran should now realise what's going on. Get out of the way, or maybe not. No, now he should know. This should be definitely the signal. There we go. A honk, just to confirm. You have to let me by now. And it's happened. So what will happen to Laguskas behind? He's in Joe Holmes' mirror. I just had a look at Holmes' mirror, and he is there, just outside though.
On board with the rear of Martin Capel, who can see Joe Holmes come out to lap him. The gap at the front is similar. 2.8 seconds between first and second, so Holmes managing to get through the traffic with no problems. And we are coming on to the penultimate lap. That'll be lap 57 and 58. Capel is going to let Holmes through into the final sector. Laguskas is absolutely charging behind these lap traffic, but I think it's too late, Eoin. I don't think he's got the chance to get him now. Holmes on the way to victory. And that is our man who is trying not to pit. Sarah was trying to go through without pitting, and now he's got a front right puncture on the second last lap. That's unfortunate for him. It was a good effort though. It's quite it's a hell of a long way to go with without pitting, but it's just gone wrong toward the end of this race, and now he will have to make a pit stop on the second to last lap of this race. Oh, he's going to try and go through because it is quite close to the finish, and also it's a front right puncture, so he should be okay around here with that. But he's decided to not pit.
Well, this is bewildering stuff. Like, he has a message for you, Chris, on his number plate. But let's look at Joe Holmes again.
We'll ignore the message on his number plate.
So Joe Holmes hasn't anything to worry about in front of him. It's behind him, with Laguskas coming up to Martin Capel. This is the start of Sector 3 now. Is Capel going to relent? He should do very shortly. Yeah, he moves over just in time, but he doesn't want to lift and cost himself time. So there you go, good job. This is the last hurrah for Laguskas' ambition to win. There you go, you can see his opponent for today, Joe Holmes, on the final lap coming up.
Yeah, both of these guys have had issues with traffic today, and and both of them can feel as though there was issues with traffic that cost them, or nearly cost them, the victory. But in the end, Joe Holmes has come through, and those 12 laps of low 1 minute 33s after Vitautas Laguskas made a slightly earlier than I would have expected pit stop in this race has given Joe Holmes back the lead that he lost from pole position at the start of this race. Then there was the incident when Laguskas had pulled away to a 2-second lead with the back markers that held up Holmes, Price and Peltzer-Kankis, and that meant that it gave Vitautas Laguskas a 7-second lead into the pit stop time. Joe Holmes then got to work. He fancied his chances of still winning this race, and look now as we come down to the hairpin for the final time before heading into the final run for victory for Joe Holmes. 58 laps of South City, 1 pit stop for everybody today, from Sarah, who we now know is running around without front tyres, Joe Holmes comes down to the motorway section. It's been a very, very interesting 58 laps again in GT2 Challenge 2021. Vitautas Lagutskas is throwing everything. You can see his XR in the background bouncing around as he throws everything at catching Joe Holmes, but it's just not quite going to be enough for an FXR victory today. The XRR remains dominant in GT2 Challenge 2021, but it is not Isaac Price's victory today. It's the man who's come second in both the first 2 rounds of the season. Joe Holmes wins, finally, a GT2 Challenge race in 2021, and we do have a championship on our hands. Holmes wins, Lagutskas second in the FXR, Isaac Price finishes third within 5 seconds of Joe Holmes, and that, boys, or Owen, because you're the one that can talk at this point, that was a very, very interesting race from start to finish.
Yeah, you bet. It's just the ups and downs and the swings of the drivers competing for the win, and the pit strategies coming into play as well. That made for a great watch. But obviously, the remaining drivers need to cross the line. There are some positions still at stake.
Leibniz and Patola, the closest battle on track and battle for 12th position. Patola ahead as they come out the final corner. Can he hold on to 12th position? A bit of a struggle second half of the race there for Nico Patola and the FCR, but he is going to hold on for 12th position. And behind them, when there's... Oh, they've made contact. Oh, Patola's run out of fuel on the run to the line. I was like, why did they make contact? Nico's run out of fuel on the line, and he does drop to 13th position. And there's Eoin Harmon's teammate Stephen Martin finishing. Owen, points for your team. You must be delighted.
Yeah, we're on the board at last. So SMR Harmon Enterprises will be visible in the next championship update. That is fantastic news for us. So we'll hopefully get two drivers for our team represented at some stage. We've only got 3 attempts left to have a duo. But yeah, anyway, other drivers getting across the line there. Jared Mead was very close to Carlos Montejritas, but it wasn't quite enough.
Sarah and LeBlanc come across the line almost side by side, both with front right punctures for 29th and 30th position in this race. I don't think that's one that Reg LeBlanc will want to look back on with any fondness. I think he will want to get out of that car and go and get angry somewhere. Or furious, as you said, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, just angry Angus. They were looking really good in pre-qualifying. Like, I was against Reg for a little while for the final position, but then Reg eventually pulled out the cracking 1:34 that guaranteed his place for today. Oh, and Price decides to give Joe a tap on the back. I think this is on purpose now, Chris. He's doing it multiple times. I suppose it's not against the sporting code to do that.
Don't know. I don't think even Deco's thought of things like that. But anyway, so there's your top 3 here today at South City. Joe Holmes taking his first victory of the season ahead of Vitautas Lagutskas and Isaac Price in 3rd position. Owen, would you like to do a rundown of the race results today here from South City?
I will indeed. So, as we've heard, Joe Holmes, Vitautas Lagutskas and Isaac Price are the podium winners. Pali Patakangis gets his first points since joining this season. He grabbed 4th place ahead of the champion Joni Katila. Pekka Rainen has completed a run to 6th position ahead of Pedro Pacanco, Vitautas, Lekikoinen and Versinskas. They complete the top 10. Botef was one of our best of the rest runners. He's come in 11th. Leipenex is the dozen driver. He comes in 12th. Nico Pantola in 13th position, followed by Matthias Linda, Andre Araujo, and the final driver on the same lap, Daniel Balla. Then we have Martin Kapal, Eyu Belhanuni, Jari Katila, Jürgen Weber, Kaike Parappo as well there, Martinez, Vidoviarts, Motojitas, and Jared Mead. They're down to 25th place. David Gotch, Radek Luski, Jacob Jeffin, Sarah, despite those double punctures, and Reg LeBlanc. They complete the top 30. And then the final finishers, 2 laps down, Benoit Lemarly, Stephen Martin, Johansson, Magic, and Derlan.
Yep, thank you very much, Eoin. So that was 1 hour and 34 minutes of racing time today, 58 laps. Fastest lap did go to Joe Holmes with a 1 minute 33.28. That was during his charge for victory, when he was trying to get Vytautas Lagutskas after his early stop. And I believe that we are now joined by Joe Holmes. Hello, Joe.
Hello.
So, finally.
Yeah, it wasn't the easiest though, was it?
No. What on earth happened with the back marker?
Oh, you tell me. You tell me. I didn't know. It looks like he was just going to carry on his line, so I'd gone to like undercut him, and then he just moved straight across the front of me.
Yeah, it was an interesting point of this race. It was a furious race from start to finish there. At one point, were you thinking that Vytautas must be quite unbeatable, given that the FXR looked to have the pace? Were you surprised to see him pit as early as he did?
See, his pace was just ridiculous. I was thinking I could sort of match him, but then his sector 2 was just so strong. So when he pit after 30 laps, I was thinking, oh, maybe that explains why. But then I was thinking, at the end of the race, he's going to have that same pace again. He's going to be rapid. So
yes, indeed. I mean, it was certainly a very, very frenetic or frantic race between the front four during that period. There was an incident that we missed where Isaac Price managed to overtake you. What happened there?
going through sector 2, the right-hander after the tight hairpin, I'd hit the inside wall and I'd had to brake because I didn't want to damage my car on the exit wall as well. So he got a run on me. So I kind of let him past on the back straight, and then you probably saw me in a slipstream managing to get around the outside of him. Not over at start finish, under the bridge, to be fair.
Yeah, we did catch that part. We missed the first part. We were very, very confused in the commentary box. I think something else was happening further back in the race at that point. So let's just sum up your race then, and how do you feel about actually finally getting the what's the terminology? The victory, because it feels as though he should have got it at Westhill last year when the incident with Eoin happened.
Yeah, it were a race that probably 20 laps in, I didn't think I was going to win. I put it on pole, and that's as much as you can do. And I think I were a little bit too tentative into turn 1, but as soon as he got past in at FXR, I was thinking it's going to be hard work now. So I don't really know how I managed to catch him. I'm assuming when he came out of the pits, he were slow or got caught up or something. So I didn't think I was going to pit and come out in front of him. But either way, it's nice to finally get the win. I did a fair bit of testing for this, so I think yeah, it all came together really, barring a few incidents with backmarkers and whatnot. I think it were a pretty clean race, so I think that just added up. Not hitting walls and stuff, no damage. So
yeah, and I believe from Theo Falkenberg's mathematics or rudimentary mathematics, that means that you're either level or 1 point behind Isaac after the 3 rounds of this race. So heading into the second half of the season, how confident are you of continuing this fight?
I think it's just going to be tight all season. I think the next race is going to be. I think the next race will be wide open. Blackwood's a track that most people run well at, so I don't think it'll be a case of me or Isaac running off. I reckon you'll have like a group of like 6 at the front, so I think that'll be quite interesting. But I think it's just going to be tight all season. I think it might even come down to who gets the most poles, like just getting like little points here and there doing that.
Well, we look forward to it. Joe Holmes, our winner today, thank you very much and enjoy your celebrations, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Cheers, mate.
And we're joined now by third place finisher today, Isaac Price. Hello, Isaac.
Hey.
A frustrating one, I'm going to guess, for you today?
I mean, I think it's always fun to have it. I think it was a fun race from my side. Me and Joe had quite a few battles, and Botsy and me had a good battle as well. I think it was just disappointing that I always seemed to come off second best in those racing situations, but it's what it is. I was kind of boxed into a corner strategically because Joe was quicker than me in Q and he could make his tires last longer, so I always was in a tricky situation there. I think if in a normal race, I think I would have probably finished ahead of Lagutskas. But obviously when Joe got held up by the back marker, it gave me an opportunity to go by, but then I couldn't carry enough speed through the left-hander to stay ahead, and it kind of just put me on the back foot, and then just made a mistake at the wrong time, and that allowed Botsy to get run on me. But it was a fun race. I enjoyed it. It's all the races have always been close, and I think it was always at some point going to go the other way. And great job by Joe to get the win here.
It seemed as though after the incident with the back markers, it took a while for the three of you, to be honest, yourself, Pauli, and Joe, to get your rhythm back, and that allowed Vitautas a bit of a lead. Was it quite difficult after the sort of the rhythm had been broken up to get back into that? Because it seemed as though there's a bit more wall touching going on for the three of you after the incident.
I don't know. I mean, for me, it was obviously I was trying to get a run on Botsy because it seemed like it took him a while to settle down a little bit. And I was trying to stay close to get around him, but obviously the FXR is really quick off the last corner, so it's always going to be tricky. I never really got any opportunity, so I don't know. For me, I didn't really feel like that so much. I think Laguskas just had less fuel, so he and the FXR as well, having harder tires on the front. I think it kind of just kicks into an extra gear once heat peak ends. Like its heat peak kind of ends quicker than the XRR, so we're still having kind of 10 degrees hotter than optimum tires, and his are like 5 degrees too hot, so he gets a little bit extra grip at that point. So I didn't really think too much of it. I knew he was lighter, so I wanted to try and stay close enough that I could leapfrog him, but obviously when I got the chance to go for Joe, I was going to take it, and that ended up just putting me behind Botsy, and that was it pretty much.
Yep, so going into the second half of the season, it appears that the championship is very, very close between yourself and Joe. How do you feel heading to Blackwood in a couple of weeks?
I thought it was firm bay, to be honest, but I assume that you're right and I'm wrong. I mean, we've raced Blackwood before, so I guess it won't be too much unknown. I'm not sure whether the race distance is the same as last time or whether it's a little bit longer. That'll obviously decide whether we make a pit stop or not. But it should be good. Try and come back from the loss, and I'm not sure exactly whether that puts Joe ahead of me in the points or not, but it's pretty close.
It's either level or you're 1 point ahead. Tilo was trying to work out earlier, depending on fastest laps in this race.
Oh, I didn't realise that there was even points for fastest lap, but okay.
How'd you get a point for fastest lap?
But I mean, from my side, I feel like me and Joe have been pretty much first and second every week. I mean, Laguskas is second this week, but he changed cars, so I mean, obviously it affects the points a little bit, but it is what it is. So just try and recover and do a good job next time.
Did you say you get a point for fastest lap?
I think you do, yeah. Oh no, Pete's saying no, but Tilo seemed to think you did.
At one point, me, Isaac, and Laguskas all had the same lap time, 0.35, so would we have all got a point then?
Deco says Poland high climber, so I've been misinformed and I'm speaking nonsense. No.
You got a point for Paul.
Oh, dear.
You would have got a third of a point each, I'm sure. Well, I'm sure they used to do that in Formula 1 in the 50s. They used to have a third of a point in nonsense like that. And not even New Dimension Racing would put up with nonsense like that. I mean, there's just no. So, thank you, boys, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. And I'm sure that the FXR will be buzzing around again at Blackwood. It is definitely Blackwood. I've checked, Isaac. I was right about that. So that's a rare thing for me to be right about something.
Half of the things you've said right in this interview.
I forgot a phrase earlier as well. It's not going well. Anyway, thank you, boys.
Does that mean I get $20 as well, or £20?
Just you go away. That's why you lost, isn't it? Because you had money on it, right?
Well, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say anything. I'll let other people decide whether I lost or not.
I'll see. I'll message you soon. Anyway, that's Joe Holmes and Isaac Price, our two championship leaders. All right, everybody, so I think we'll just wrap up here. Eoin, Harmon, would you like to give your final thoughts on today's action from South City?
Yeah, I'm delighted to say there wasn't a need for the safety car today. The drivers that needed to be, they kept it as clean as they could. Obviously, there were punctures and spins that caused distress for some of them, but again, the action was hot and heavy, but it was great to see so much going on. and the championship now hots up with the Joe Holmes Isaac Price battle, and Laguskas put in a great show as well. Obviously, I'd like to see the return of certain drivers who were absent today, like Maki Humala. I'd like to see them back for round 4, Sean Lee as well. But otherwise, there was plenty of action, lots of newcomers as well made an impact, and I'm really excited for the next round.
Yep, thank you very much, Eoin. So next for us here on Sim Broadcast TV, we have RTFR on the 16th of February, Tuesday 16th of February, which is going to be FXR at Rockingham International. Join, I think it'll be Pete Butcher and Eoin Harmon, is that correct? Probably for that race at 6:50 PM on the 16th of February. That should be a really interesting one. That is an interesting combination. For us here at GT2 Challenge by New Dimension Racing, broadcast here by simbroadcast.tv on Twitch, we will be back in 2 weeks' time, on the 21st of February 2021, with a race from Blackwood. That'll be very, very interesting, because that is normally a track that all 3 of these cars are close in this GT2 configuration. So I've been Chris Ford, that's been Eoin Harmon. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Goodbye.
Cheerio.